Imagine waking up to thousands of dollars hitting your account every month without having to clock in or answer to a boss. Most people think that you need millions invested to live off of dividends. But what if I told you that there's an actual way to build a $75,000 passive income stream with a fraction of that investment? Well, on today's episode of Money Talks with Njideka, I'll be showing you exactly how to build a dividend portfolio that pays you while you sleep. Hey, I'm Njideka, a financial advisor who helps everyday people grow sustainable passive income streams through smart investing strategies. Now, before we dive in, if you are serious about building wealth, take a second to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment letting me know your biggest obstacle to building a passive income stream. Your engagement helps this information reach more people just like you who are looking to build financial freedom. Now, first, let me make this clear. What I discuss in this episode is financial education. It is not financial advising since I do not know your personal situation. So use this information to do your own research and figure out if any of these approaches fit for you. Now, with that said, let's talk about how to build a $75,000 annual passive income stream through dividend investing. Understand that is $6,250 landing in your account every single month. So before I get started, I want to mention a few terms that you're going to be hearing me reference throughout this episode. And I want to make sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about so you can follow along easily. Now, when you're looking at stocks, there are many different types that you can invest in based on your goals. Some people focus on growth stocks that don't pay dividends, but they might increase significantly in value over time, like many tech companies. Others prefer blue chip stocks from well-established companies with stable performance. And there's also sector stocks that focus on specific industries like healthcare or energy. So dividend paying stocks are a specific type that many investors add to their portfolio specifically for their income generating qualities. So when you buy shares of a dividend paying company, you become a part owner of that company. And as an owner, you are entitled to a portion of the profits. And these profit distributions are called dividends. Think of it like owning a rental property. You buy property, which is like the stock, and then you collect rent, which is kind of like dividends. And you do that regularly without having to sell the property itself. The beautiful thing is your ownership stake remains intact while you collect this income. Now, another important measure that I want you to understand is a dividend yield. So this tells you how much money you get back compared to what you invested. So for example, if you invest $100 in a stock with a 5% dividend yield, you'll receive $5 per year in dividends. It's similar to when you collect interest on your savings account, but this is usually much higher. Now, most companies pay dividends every 3 months. We call these quarterly distributions, but some pay monthly, which is great for covering regular bills. So finally, when comparing different dividend stocks, the yield is actually your quickest way to see which ones are more generous with their profit sharing. So now that we understand the basics, I have identified 3 distinct paths to build your $75,000 dividend income stream. I call them the Aristocrat Path, the REIT Route, and the Covered Call Strategy. Each has different investment requirements and different risk profiles. Path number 1, the Aristocrat Path. So dividend aristocrats are elite companies that have increased their dividend payouts over the last 25 consecutive years. Think companies like Johnson & Johnson, 3M, and Walgreens. The good news? You do not have to hunt for these companies yourself. There's already a cheat sheet. The S&P 500 Dividend Aristocrats Index tracks these reliable dividend payers, so you instantly know which companies have proven their commitment to shareholders over the decades. Now, these companies typically yield around 4 to 7% annually. They are incredibly stable, but require a bit more capital up front to generate substantial income. So to generate $75,000 annually with a 5% average yield, you would need approximately $1.5 million invested. Now, that sounds like a lot, and it is, but remember, this is the most conservative, low-risk approach. Just last year, I remember hearing about a postal worker that reached a goal of $2,000 in monthly dividend income after 18 years of consistently investing from his regular paycheck. He started with just $200 monthly in contributions, and he gradually increased it as his salary grew, and he reinvested all dividends along the way. He never made a 6-figure salary, but his consistency paid off. Path number 2 is the REIT route. So moving on to our second path, let's talk about REITs, or real estate investment trusts. So if you are familiar with mutual funds, REITs are somewhat similar, but with a real estate focus. Just like mutual funds pull money from many investors to buy a collection of stocks or bonds, a REIT pulls money from investors to buy, manage, and profit from real estate. So think apartment buildings, shopping centers, office parks, medical facilities, data centers, and more. The big difference is how they're required to share profits. So while mutual funds can reinvest most of their gains, REITs are required by law to distribute at least 90% of their taxable income to shareholders as dividends. It's like having a landlord who's legally obligated to share almost all the rental income with you. This requirement creates significantly higher yields, typically between 80 to 20%. Some top performing REITs like Brandywine Realty Trust or Orchid Island Capital have recently paid dividends above 19%. So what's great about REITs is that they give you access to real estate income without the headaches of being a landlord. So no midnight calls about broken water heaters or dealing with problem tenants. You simply collect your share of the income while professional managers handle all the property issues. And with an average yield of 12%, you would need approximately $625,000 invested to generate $75,000 annually through REITs. So think about what that means. If you're putting aside $1,000 from your side hustle, let's say each month, and investing it into REITs yielding at about 12%, you could potentially generate over $30,000 in annual passive income within 15 years, even without any salary increases or additional contributions. That's the power of higher yield investments combined with time. Path number 3 is the covered call strategy. So our third approach is the most efficient one for your money, using special funds called covered call ETFs. So let me break this down simply, okay? An ETF, or exchange traded fund, is a group of stocks packaged together for bulk investing. The word call means that we are now talking about a type of investing related to what's called options or stock options. So options trading is when people don't necessarily own an actual stock of a company, but they can, however, buy the option to buy it. I know that sounds real interesting. So now the word covered is telling you that actually in this case, the actual stock is owned. So now if these were uncovered or naked calls, that means that a person has the options to buy or sell the stock, but they do not also own the stock. Now, if this is already going above your head, don't even worry about this. Just sticks to the basic type of investing right now. But if you are following me, let's keep going. Now let's get back to the covered call ETFs. So these funds own stocks, but they also sell the option, which you can kind of think of like insurance policies on those particular stocks, which is used to generate additional income. So when I said earlier that these types of ETFs are capital efficient, I just mean that you need less money invested to get the same income. It's like getting more bang for your buck. So with this strategy, XYLD has paid dividends for the last 11 years. QYLD has paid since 2006, and JEPI, which is currently the largest actively managed ETF in the entire United States, that one typically yields about 9 to 15%, which is significantly higher than traditional dividend stocks. And many of these pay you monthly instead of quarterly, which means you get 12 paychecks a year instead of just 4. So with an average yield of 12%, you will need approximately $625,000 invested, which is similar to the returns that you would get with the REIT approach. Now, I have heard of this working for people at all income levels. I've seen people start directing even $500 a month from side gigs into covered call ETFs. After 10 years, they would be generating about $15,000 annually in passive income, all from a side hustle that they were already going to be doing. Imagine what you can do with your side income if you directed it this way. So now that we've covered the 3 main paths, let's talk about how to actually implement this. So regardless of which path you choose, here is a 5-step framework for successfully building your dividend portfolio. Step 1 is to establish your portfolio foundation. So first, it is important to consider your personal risk tolerance when deciding how much of your portfolio to allocate to dividend stocks. A good rule of thumb is to start with 20 to 30% of your non-employer sponsored retirement accounts. So as you become more comfortable, or as your need for passive income grows, you can adjust this percentage or even create self-imposed limits of what being fully funded in that particular asset class actually looks like for you. Just remember that diversification across different types of investments is always important for long-term stability. Step 2 is strategic diversification. So within your dividend allocation, you want to spread your investments across at least 3 to 5 different industries. So this protects your income if one sector experiences trouble. So for example, you may consider balancing stable industries like consumer staples, things like toilet tissue or light bulb brands, with growth stocks like technology. Think of this like not putting all your eggs in one basket, because if you only invest in energy companies and oil prices crash, your entire income would be at risk. But if you spread across healthcare, technology, consumer goods, utilities, and financial companies, you are much more protected. Step 3 is reinvestment acceleration. So during your accumulation phase, meaning while you're younger and while your investments are growing, you want to reinvest all dividends to compound your growth. Thus, do not take that dividend check just yet. Let it automatically go back into your investment account. This is like adding a turbocharger to your portfolio, because that same amount that you invest generates progressively more income each year. Let's even look at an example of how powerful this is. If you invested $10,000 at a 5% dividend yield, you would earn $500 in the first year. But if you reinvest that $500 instead of spending it, the second year you'll earn dividends on $10,500. It might not sound like much, but over 10, 20, or even 30 years, this compounding effect becomes enormous. Step 4. Payout ratio analysis. To ensure that your dividend income remains reliable, only invest in companies with sustainable dividend practices. The payout ratio is simply how much of the company's profits are being paid out as dividends. Remember, when companies are on the New York Stock Exchange, their financial reports have been made available to the public. So go to their website, look for payout ratios below 60% for regular companies and below 90% for REITs. In the case of regular funds, this will mean that the company is paying out less than 60% of its profits as dividends, which leaves room to reinvest in growth and handle any economic downturns. From a personal finance standpoint, think about it like your personal budget. If you're spending 95% of your paycheck every month, you are in trouble, especially if any unexpected expense comes up. Companies are the same way. And step 5, monthly contribution discipline. Always remember, consistency beats timing, so set up automatic monthly contributions to your dividend portfolio. Even if it's just $500 per month, this disciplined approach will build substantial income over time. Now, before we wrap up, I want to share an important bonus tip that could save you thousands of dollars. Be careful to avoid dividend traps. These are companies with unsustainably high yields. So if a stock is paying a 20% dividend while most similar companies are paying 5%, that could be a red flag. You want to analyze these 3 key metrics to spot potential traps. One is the price to earnings ratio. So this compares the stock price to how much profit the company makes. Think of it like how many years of earnings it would take to equal the price of the stock. Lower is generally better, and you want to compare it to other companies in the same industry. Second metric to look at is free cash flow. So this is simply how much cash a company has left after paying for operations and investments. A healthy dividend stock should generate more cash than it pays out in dividends. It's like making sure your business brings in more money than you're taking home as the owner. And the third metric is debt to equity ratio. So this shows how much a company relies on debt versus money from shareholders. So think of it like comparing your mortgage to how much of your house you can actually own. Lower debt, again, is generally safer. So here's a way to think about that one. If a company is paying out $100 million in dividends, but only generating $80 million in free cash flow, they're using borrowed money or savings to pay shareholders. That is not sustainable long term. So ultimately, building a $75,000 passive income stream through dividends isn't about getting rich quickly. It's about creating sustainable wealth that grows while you sleep. Whether you choose the Aristocrat Path, the REIT Route, or the covered call strategy, the key is consistent action and patience. Remember, every great dividend portfolio started with a single investment. The best time to start was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. And if you found this strategy valuable, check out other videos on getting started with investing. Just click on the playlist that's popping up on your screen right now. I've created a step-by-step guide for beginners that will help you make your first dividend investments with confidence. And if you are serious about accelerating your wealth building journey, consider joining my Boldly Building Wealth community, where I provide weekly trainings, clear guidance, and accountability to help you stay on track. You'll also be part of a community of like-minded people who are tired of sitting on the sidelines of wealth building, no matter what income level they're at right now. As always, this is Njideka, and I am passionate about helping you build wealth one dividend at a time. See you in the next episode.